poor woman knocks on the door of a luxurious hotel in a distant place. A millionaire answers and recognizes her and can't believe it. Welcome to the channel. Enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment and share. The crisp autumn air nipped at Emma Hawkins' cheeks as she hurried down the bustling streets of Boston. Her worn sneakers slapped against the pavement, a stark contrast to the sleek high heels and polished loafers that surrounded her. At 38, Emma's face bore the gentle lines of a life lived with both joy and struggle, her green eyes sharp with determination. As she navigated the morning rush, she clutched her bag tighter, feeling the weight of her nursing scrubs inside. Another long day at Boston General Hospital awaited her, but Emma's mind was elsewhere. Her daughter, Olivia, had just started her freshman year at Boston University, and the pride Emma felt was tempered by a gnawing worry about tuition costs and living expenses. As she rounded the corner, the imposing facade of the hospital loomed before her. Emma quickened her pace, her ponytail swinging with each step. She barely noticed the glossy black town car that glided past, its tinted windows concealing the passengers within. Inside that very car, Nathan Sullivan leaned back against the supple leather seat, his fingers tapping restlessly on his knee. At 40, Nathan exuded the confidence of a man who had clawed his way to the top of the tech industry. His steel-gray eyes scanned the financial report on his tablet, but his mind kept drifting to the nagging emptiness he felt despite his success. "We're almost at the office, Mr. Sullivan," his driver announced. Nathan nodded absently, his gaze drawn to a woman hurrying into the hospital. For a fleeting moment, something about her seemed familiar, but he quickly dismissed the thought. He had more pressing matters to attend to, namely the promising young intern who had recently joined his company. As Emma pushed through the hospital doors, she was greeted by the controlled chaos of the emergency room. Her best friend and fellow nurse, Sarah Chen, waved her over with a harried expression. "Thank goodness you're here, Emma," Sarah said, her almond-shaped eyes wide with stress. "We've got a multi-car pileup coming in, and we're short-staffed." Emma nodded, immediately slipping into professional mode. "I'm on it. Let me change quickly." As she made her way to the locker room, Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Olivia flashed across the screen. "Mom, can we talk later? It's important." A flutter of concern rippled through Emma's chest. What could be so urgent? She pushed the worry aside, knowing she needed to focus on the task at hand. Little did she know, her daughter's message would set in motion a chain of events that would unravel the careful life she had built. Across town, in the gleaming offices of Sullivan Tech, Nathan settled into his ergonomic chair, his eyes fixed on the Boston skyline. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Sullivan, your 9 o'clock is here. The new intern, Olivia Hawkins." Nathan straightened, curiosity piqued. This young woman had impressed him with her application, showing a keen mind for technology and business strategy. As the door opened, he rose to greet her, but the words died on his lips. Standing before him was a young woman with familiar green eyes and a determined set to her jaw. For a moment, Nathan felt as if he were looking at a ghost from his past. "Mr. Sullivan?" Olivia's voice broke through his stunned silence. "I'm Olivia Hawkins. It's an honor to meet you." Nathan cleared his throat, regaining his composure. "Yes, of course. Please have a seat, Miss Hawkins." As they began to discuss Olivia's role at the company, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this meeting than a simple job interview. Little did he know, Olivia was harboring her own secrets and motivations. Back at the hospital, Emma worked tirelessly, her mind occasionally drifting to Olivia's text. As she helped stabilize a car accident victim, Sarah appeared at her side. "Emma, you okay? You seem distracted," Sarah whispered. Concern etched on her face. Emma forced a smile. "I'm fine, just worried about Olivia. She wants to talk about something important." Sarah squeezed her friend's shoulder. "I'm sure it's nothing serious. Maybe she's just homesick." Emma nodded, but deep down she knew it was more than that. She could feel it in her bones, the same way she had felt 19 years ago when her life had changed forever. As the day wore on, Nathan found himself increasingly intrigued by Olivia. Her intelligence and drive reminded him of someone from his past, someone he had tried hard to forget. During a break in their meeting, he discreetly pulled up her application on his computer, scanning for any clues that might explain the nagging familiarity. Olivia, for her part, was doing her best to remain calm and professional. She had rehearsed this moment countless times in her mind, but being face to face with the man she suspected was her father was overwhelming. She watched Nathan carefully, searching for any sign of recognition in his eyes. As the sun began to set over Boston, Emma finally got a chance to check her phone. She saw 3 missed calls from Olivia and felt her heart race. Stepping into an empty break room, she dialed her daughter's number. "Mom?" Olivia's voice was thick with emotion. "I need to tell you something." Emma's grip tightened on the phone. "What is it?" "Sweetheart, are you okay?" There was a long pause before Olivia spoke again. "I found out who my father is." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as Emma processed those words. She sank into a nearby chair, her mind reeling. How had Olivia discovered the secret she had kept buried for nearly 2 decades? "Mom? Are you there?" Olivia's voice crackled through the phone. Emma took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation she had always dreaded. "Yes, I'm here. Olivia, there's so much I need to explain." But before she could continue, the door to the break room burst open. Sarah rushed in, her face pale. "Emma, we need you now. There's been another accident and it's bad." Torn between her duty as a nurse and her role as a mother, Emma made a split-second decision. "Olivia, I have to go. There's an emergency. Can we please talk about this when I get home?" "But Mom, I promise we'll discuss everything." "I love you." Emma ended the call, her heart heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. As she rushed to assist with the new emergency, Emma's mind was a whirlwind of memories and fears. How much did Olivia know? And what would happen when the carefully constructed walls of her past came tumbling down? Meanwhile, in his office, Nathan stared at Olivia's application, a cold realization settling in his gut. The birth date, the hometown, it all aligned with a chapter of his life he thought he had left behind. Could it be possible? Was this bright, ambitious young woman sitting across from him actually his daughter? As the first day of Olivia's internship drew to a close, Nathan found himself at a crossroads. Should he confront the possibility head-on, or wait and gather more information? The stakes were high, and one wrong move could shatter the lives of everyone involved. Olivia gathered her things, her heart pounding. She had made it through the day without revealing her true motives, but the emotional toll was immense. As she prepared to leave, Nathan called out to her. "Ms. Hawkins, a moment, please." Olivia turned, her breath catching in her throat. Had he figured it out? Nathan's face was unreadable as he spoke. "I just wanted to say that you've done excellent work today. I have a feeling you're going to be a valuable asset to this company." Olivia managed a smile, relief and disappointment warring within her. "Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. That means a lot coming from you." As she walked out of the office, Olivia couldn't help but feel that she was leaving more than just a workplace behind. She was walking away from the truth she had come to uncover, a truth that seemed to be dancing just out of reach. The sun had long since set over Boston as Emma finally left the hospital, exhaustion weighing heavily on her shoulders. She knew that waiting at home was a conversation that would change everything. As she walked, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. It's about Olivia." "Nathan." Emma froze, her world tilting once again. How had Nathan found her after all these years? And more importantly, what did he know about their daughter? As the city lights flickered to life around her, Emma realized that the carefully constructed life she had built was about to crumble. The secrets of the past were emerging from the shadows, threatening to reshape the future in ways she could never have imagined. Little did Emma know this was just the beginning of a journey that would test the bonds of family, the power of love, and the strength of the human spirit. As she made her way home, the stage was set for a reunion nearly 2 decades in the making, a reunion that would unearth long-buried truths and force 3 lives to collide in ways none of them could have predicted. The flickering streetlights cast long shadows as Emma trudged up the steps to her modest apartment. Her hand trembled slightly as she fumbled with her keys, Nathan's text message burning in her mind like a brand. How had he found her? What did he want after all these years? As she pushed open the door, the silence of the empty apartment enveloped her. Olivia's absence was palpable, a reminder of the growing distance between mother and daughter. Emma's gaze fell on a framed photo of Olivia's high school graduation, and her heart clenched with a mixture of pride and fear. She sank onto the worn couch, her fingers hovering over her phone. Should she respond to Nathan's message? The thought of confronting the past she'd so carefully buried made her stomach churn, but as she stared at Olivia's smiling face in the photo, Emma knew she couldn't run from the truth any longer. With a deep breath, she typed out a reply. "Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Boston Common, we'll talk." Across town in his luxurious penthouse apartment, Nathan paced restlessly, his usually immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. He loosened his tie, pouring himself a glass of expensive scotch with a slightly trembling hand. The amber liquid sloshed against the crystal as he raised it to his lips, his mind a whirlwind of memories and questions. The ping of his phone cut through the silence. Nathan's heart raced as he read Emma's response. After nearly 2 decades, he would finally face the woman who had disappeared from his life, taking with her a secret that had the power to change everything. As the night deepened, 3 restless souls tossed and turned in their beds, each grappling with the weight of unspoken truths and impending confrontations. Morning broke over Boston, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Olivia woke early, her excitement for another day at Sullivan Tech tempered by the gnawing anxiety in her gut. She hadn't heard back from her mother after their interrupted phone call, and the silence was deafening. As she dressed for work, Olivia's gaze fell on the old photo album hidden beneath her bed. She knelt down, pulling it out and flipping to the page that had started it all, a faded photograph of a young Nathan Sullivan at a tech conference, his arm around a woman whose face had been carefully cut out. Olivia traced her finger over Nathan's youthful face, searching for similarities to her own. The sharp jawline, the determined set of the eyes. She could see echoes of herself in his features. But it was more than just physical resemblance that had led her on this quest. It was the burning need to understand where she came from, to fill the void that had always existed in her life. With a sigh, she closed the album and tucked it away. Today, she told herself, she would find a way to get closer to the truth. At Boston General Hospital, Emma moved through her morning rounds in a daze. The weight of the impending meeting with Nathan hung heavy on her shoulders, making even the simplest tasks feel monumental. Earth to Emma, Sarah's voice cut through her reverie. You okay? You've been staring at that chart for 5 minutes. Emma blinked, forcing a smile. Sorry, just a bit distracted. Sarah's eyes narrowed with concern. Is this about Olivia? Did you two talk? Emma hesitated, torn between the need to confide in her friend and the instinct to protect her secrets. It's complicated, she finally said. There's something I need to take care of tonight. Would you mind covering the end of my shift? Sarah nodded, her expression softening. Of course, you know I'm here if you need to talk, right? Emma squeezed her friend's hand gratefully, wishing she could unburden herself of the truth that had been her constant companion for 19 years. As the day wore on, Nathan found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on work. His eyes kept drifting to Olivia, watching her interact with other employees, noting the familiar tilt of her head when she was deep in thought. The possibility that she might be his daughter both thrilled and terrified him. During a break, Nathan retreated to his office, closing the door behind him. He pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over a contact he hadn't called in years. After a moment's hesitation, he pressed dial. Nathan? The gruff voice of Marcus Thompson, his old mentor, answered on the 3rd ring. This is unexpected. Marcus? Nathan's voice was tight with tension. I need your advice. It's about Emma. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. Emma Hawkins? Nathan, what's going on? As Nathan explained the situation, Olivia's sudden appearance, the uncanny resemblance, and the impending meeting with Emma, Marcus listened in stunned silence. My God, Nathan, Marcus finally said, if this girl is really your daughter, are you ready for how this could change your life? Nathan ran a hand through his hair, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, Marcus, but I have to know the truth. As the sun began its descent towards the horizon, Emma left the hospital, her heart pounding with each step that brought her closer to Boston Common. She found herself wishing she had confided in Sarah, if only to have someone to lean on in this moment of crisis. The Common was bustling with evening activity, joggers on their after-work runs, couples strolling hand in hand, children laughing as they chased each other across the grass. Emma scanned the crowds, her eyes searching for the face she hadn't seen in nearly 2 decades, and then suddenly there he was. Nathan stood near the Brewer fountain, his tall frame easily visible above the crowd. He was older now, his dark hair peppered with grey at the temples, but his presence was as commanding as ever. As their eyes met across the distance, Emma felt as if all the air had been sucked from her lungs. She approached slowly, each step feeling like a monumental effort. Nathan's face was a mask of conflicting emotions, anger, confusion, and something that looked almost like longing. Emma, he said as she reached him, her name sounding both familiar and foreign on his lips. "Nathan," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's been a long time." For a moment they simply stood there, the years stretching between them like an unbridgeable chasm. Then Nathan spoke, his voice tight with restrained emotion. "Is she mine, Emma? Is Olivia my daughter?" The directness of the question caught Emma off guard. She had expected recriminations, demands for explanations. But Nathan had always been one to cut straight to the heart of the matter. Emma took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation she had both dreaded and, in some secret part of her heart, longed for. "Yes," she said simply. "Olivia is your daughter." The words seemed to echo in the space between them. Nathan's face cycled through a range of emotions: shock, anger, wonder, and finally a deep, aching sadness. "Why?" he asked, his voice cracking slightly. "Why did you never tell me?" Emma's eyes filled with tears as the memories she had kept locked away for so long came flooding back. "I was scared. Nathan, we were so young and you were just starting to make it big in the tech world. I didn't want to hold you back." Nathan's jaw clenched. "That wasn't your decision to make, Emma. I had a right to know my child." "I know that now," Emma said softly. But at the time it seemed like the only choice. As they stood there, grappling with the weight of nearly 2 decades of secrets and unspoken words, neither of them noticed the young woman watching from a distance, her green eyes wide with shock and confusion. Olivia had followed her mother to the common, driven by a mix of curiosity and concern, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight of Emma talking to Nathan Sullivan, the man she had come to know as her boss, the man she suspected was her father. As she watched them talk, their body language tense and intimate, Olivia felt her world tilting on its axis. The truth she had sought for so long was unfolding before her eyes, but instead of clarity, she felt only a growing sense of betrayal and confusion. Without thinking, she stepped out from her hiding place, her voice cutting through the evening air like a knife. "Mom, Mr. Sullivan, what's going on?" Emma and Nathan turned in unison, their faces pale with shock. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the three of them stood there, the secrets of the past and the uncertainties of the future swirling around them like leaves in the autumn wind. In that moment, as the last rays of sunlight painted the Boston skyline in shades of gold and crimson, 3 lives that had been separate for so long collided in a way that would change everything. The truth was out, but its consequences were yet to be fully understood. As Emma looked from Nathan to Olivia and back again, she realized that the carefully constructed walls of her life were crumbling. The time for secrets was over. Now they would have to navigate the murky waters of truth, forgiveness, and the possibility of a future none of them had ever dared to imagine. The stage was set for revelations that would test the limits of love, the strength of family bonds, and the power of second chances. As night fell over Boston, Emma, Nathan, and Olivia stood poised on the brink of a new chapter, one that would redefine their understanding of family, loyalty, and the enduring power of the heart. The tension in the air was palpable as Emma, Nathan, and Olivia stood frozen in a triangle of shock and disbelief. The sounds of the bustling park faded into the background, leaving only the thundering of their hearts and the weight of unspoken words. Olivia was the first to break the silence, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and confusion. "How long have you two known each other? And why are you meeting in secret?" Emma stepped forward, her hand outstretched towards her daughter. "Olivia, sweetheart, I can explain." "Explain what, Mom?" Olivia cut her off, her green eyes flashing with hurt. "That you've been lying to me my entire life?" Nathan watched the exchange, his mind reeling. This bright, passionate young woman was his daughter, a daughter he never knew he had. He felt a surge of emotions, joy at the discovery, anger at the years lost, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. "Olivia," he said, his voice soft but firm, "there's a lot we need to discuss. All of us, but perhaps this isn't the best place." Emma nodded in agreement, grateful for Nathan's calm intervention. "He's right, honey. Why don't we go somewhere private to talk?" Olivia looked between them, her face a mask of conflicting emotions. Finally, she nodded stiffly. "Fine, but I want the truth. But I want all of it." The three of them made their way to a nearby cafe, the tension between them almost visible. As they settled into a quiet booth in the corner, a heavy silence fell over the table. The waitress, sensing the atmosphere, quickly took their orders and retreated, leaving them alone with their tumultuous thoughts. Nathan was the first to speak, his gaze fixed on Olivia. I want you to know that I had no idea you existed until very recently. If I had known, you would have what? Olivia challenged, her voice tight with emotion. Been there? Cared? Yes, Nathan said simply, the sincerity in his voice unmistakable. I would have been there, I would have cared, I do care. Emma reached out, placing her hand on Olivia's arm. Sweetheart, I know you're angry and confused. You have every right to be. But please believe me when I say that everything I did because I thought it was best for you. Olivia pulled her arm away, her eyes brimming with tears. How could lying to me my entire life be what's best for me? Do you have any idea how it felt growing up without a father, wondering why I wasn't enough for him to stay? Nathan felt a sharp pain in his chest at her words. Olivia, you have to understand, I didn't leave. I didn't know. As the truth began to unfold, the cafe around them faded into the background. Emma and Nathan took turns explaining the past, their whirlwind romance as young adults, the unexpected pregnancy, and Emma's decision to leave without telling Nathan. I was scared, Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan was just starting to make a name for himself in the tech world. I didn't want to be the one to hold him back from his dreams. Nathan shook his head, a mix of frustration and regret on his face. You should have given me the choice, Emma. We could have figured it out together. As they talked, Olivia listened with a growing sense of understanding, though the hurt still lingered. She began to see her mother in a new light, not just as a parent, but as a young woman who had faced an impossible decision. But why didn't you ever tell me the truth? Olivia asked, her voice softer now. Why let me believe my father didn't want me? Emma's eyes filled with tears. I thought I was protecting you, and as time went on it became harder and harder to find the right moment to tell the truth. I know now that was a mistake, and I'm so sorry. As the evening wore on, the initial shock and anger began to give way to a tentative understanding. Nathan, his business acumen momentarily set aside, found himself marveling at the young woman before him. He saw echoes of himself in her determination, in the sharp intelligence behind her eyes. I want you to know, he said, his voice thick with emotion, that even though I've only known about you for a short time, I'm incredibly proud of the woman you've become. Your work at the company, it's exceptional. Olivia felt a warmth bloom in her chest at his words, even as she tried to maintain her guard. Thank you, she said quietly. But where do we go from here? We can't just pretend the last 19 years didn't happen. Nathan nodded, his expression serious. You're right. We can't change the past, but we can decide how we move forward. If you're willing, I'd like the chance to get to know you, to be a part of your life. Emma watched the exchange with a mix of hope and trepidation. She had carried the weight of her secret for so long, and now that it was out in the open, she felt both relieved and terrified. What would this mean for her relationship with Olivia? For Olivia's future? As if reading her thoughts, Olivia turned to her mother. Mom, I'm still hurt and angry, but I think I understand a little better now why you did what you did. I just need some time to process all of this. Emma nodded, grateful for her daughter's maturity. Of course, sweetheart. Take all the time you need. I'm here when you're ready to talk more. As the night deepened, the three of them left the cafe, each lost in their own thoughts. The cool night air seemed to clear some of the emotional fog, leaving them with a sense of cautious hope for the future. Nathan, ever the pragmatist, suggested they meet again in a few days to discuss practical matters. There's a lot we need to figure out, he said. Legal issues, family medical history, and, well, just getting to know each other. Olivia nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. I'd like that, and I think I'd like to continue my internship at Sullivan Tech if that's okay. I don't want any special treatment, though. Nathan felt a surge of pride at her words. Of course. You've more than earned your place there. As they prepared to part ways, Emma felt a mix of emotions she couldn't quite name. She watched as Nathan and Olivia exchanged contact information, the sight both heartwarming and bittersweet. For years, she had carried the burden of her secret alone. Now, seeing father and daughter together, she realized that her decision had affected more lives than just her own. Nathan, she said softly, as Olivia stepped away to call a rideshare. I know I have no right to ask this, but please be patient with her, with us. This is all so new. Nathan's expression softened as he looked at Emma. Despite the years and the hurt between them, he could still see the young woman he had fallen in love with so long ago. I understand, Emma. We all have a lot of adjusting to do. But I want you to know that I don't blame you. Not anymore. We were both young and life is complicated. As they said their goodbyes, each heading to their respective homes, the night seemed charged with possibility. Olivia, sitting in the back of her rideshare, stared out at the twinkling lights of Boston, her mind replaying the events of the evening. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of a new world, one filled with both exciting opportunities and daunting challenges. Emma walked home slowly, her emotions a swirling mix of relief, anxiety, and hope. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in years, she felt as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The truth was out, and whatever came next, they would face it together. Nathan, alone in his penthouse, poured himself a small glass of scotch, his mind racing with plans and possibilities. He had a daughter, a brilliant, beautiful daughter, who had already made him prouder than he could have imagined. As he looked out over the Boston skyline, he made a silent vow to do whatever it took to be the father Olivia deserved. As the city settled into the quiet of the late night, three souls lay awake, each contemplating the seismic shift in their lives. The truth had been revealed, but its echoes would continue to resonate in the days and weeks to come. For Emma, Nathan, and Olivia, this was not an ending, but a beginning, the start of a journey that would test their strength, challenge their perceptions, and ultimately teach them the true meaning of family. The stage was set for a new chapter in their lives, one filled with the promise of reconciliation, the challenge of forging new bonds, and the hopeful uncertainty of a future yet to be written. As Boston slept, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, bearing witness to the unfolding story of love, forgiveness, and the enduring power of truth. The days following the revelation in Boston Common passed in a blur of emotions and adjustments for Emma, Nathan, and Olivia. Each of them grappled with the new reality in their own way, trying to find their footing in a landscape that had shifted dramatically beneath their feet. Olivia threw herself into her work at Sullivan Tech with renewed vigor, determined to prove to herself and others that she had earned her place there on merit alone. She arrived early each morning, her mind buzzing with new ideas and innovative solutions to the company's challenges. One morning, as she was engrossed in coding a new software module, a shadow fell across her desk. She looked up to see Nathan standing there, a tentative smile on his face. "Good morning, Olivia," he said, his voice warm but uncertain. "I was wondering if you might join me for lunch today. If you're not too busy, that is." Olivia hesitated for a moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of her wanted to decline, to maintain the professional distance she had worked so hard to establish, but another part, a part that had longed for a father's presence her entire life, urged her to accept. "Sure," she finally said, offering a small smile in return. "I'd like that." As they sat in a nearby bistro, surrounded by the chatter of other diners, Nathan and Olivia began the delicate dance of getting to know each other. They started with safe topics: work, Olivia's studies, Nathan's journey in the tech world. But as the meal progressed, their conversation deepened. "I want you to know," Nathan said, his voice low and sincere, "that I meant what I said before. I'm incredibly proud of you, Olivia. Not just for your work at the company, but for the person you are. Your strength, your intelligence, your determination, you're everything I could have hoped for in a daughter." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat, emotion threatening to overwhelm her. "Thank you," she managed to say. That means a lot." As they talked, Olivia began to see Nathan not just as the successful businessman she had initially known, but as a person, complex, flawed, and genuinely trying to connect with her. It was a small step, but an important one on the path to building a relationship. Meanwhile, Emma found herself struggling to adjust to the new dynamic in her life. The secret she had carried for so long was out, and she felt both liberated and terrified. Her relationship with Olivia, once so close, now felt strained and uncertain. One evening, as Emma was finishing her shift at the hospital, Sarah cornered her in the locker room, concern etched on her face. "All right, Emma," Sarah said, her voice firm but kind. "Something's been going on with you, and it's time you told me what it is. You've been distracted, you're barely eating. I'm worried about you." Emma looked at her friend, feeling the weight of her secrets pressing down on her. With a deep breath, she began to tell Sarah everything, about Nathan, about her decision to leave all those years ago, and about the recent revelation. Sarah listened in stunned silence, her eyes widening as Emma's story unfolded. When Emma finished, Sarah pulled her into a tight hug. "Oh, Emma," she said softly, You've been carrying this for so long. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Emma wiped away a tear, grateful for her friend's support. I was scared, I guess. Scared of being judged, scared of changing things, but now everything's changed anyway. Sarah squeezed her hand reassuringly. You're not alone in this, Emma. Whatever happens, I'm here for you. As Emma left the hospital that night, she felt a glimmer of hope. With Sarah's support and the truth finally out in the open, perhaps she could start to rebuild her relationship with Olivia and find a way forward. The following weekend, Nathan invited both Emma and Olivia to his penthouse for dinner. It was a gesture meant to bridge the gap between them, to start building a new kind of family dynamic. As they gathered in Nathan's sleek, modern kitchen, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken emotions and cautious hope. Nathan, determined to make the evening a success, had gone all out. He had prepared a gourmet meal, drawing on skills he hadn't used in years. As he moved around the kitchen, Olivia watched him with a mix of curiosity and amusement. I didn't know you could cook, she said, a note of surprise in her voice. Nathan chuckled, a warm sound that seemed to lighten the mood. There's a lot you don't know about me yet, he said. I'm hoping we can change that. As they sat down to eat, the conversation flowed more easily than any of them had expected. They shared stories, laughed at Nathan's culinary near-disasters, and began to see each other in a new light. Emma, watching Nathan and Olivia interact, felt a bittersweet ache in her chest. She saw the connection forming between them, the shared mannerisms and expressions that spoke of their genetic bond. It was beautiful to witness, but it also reminded her of the years lost, the moments she could never get back. As the evening wore on, the conversation turned to more serious matters. Nathan cleared his throat, his expression becoming more solemn. There's something I wanted to discuss with both of you, he said. I've been thinking a lot about the future, about our family, and I want to make things right. Emma and Olivia exchanged a glance, uncertainty flickering between them. What do you mean, Nathan? Emma asked, her voice cautious. Nathan took a deep breath before continuing. I want to set up a trust fund for Olivia, to ensure her future, to make up for the years I wasn't there to provide for her. Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. Her trust fund? But I know you don't need it, Nathan interrupted gently. You're incredibly capable and successful in your own right, but this isn't about need. It's about me wanting to do something for my daughter, to give you the security and opportunities I should have been providing all along. Emma felt a flutter of panic in her chest. Nathan, that's very generous, but it's not charity, Nathan said, anticipating her objection. It's not about money, it's about family, about trying to make things right. As they discussed the implications of Nathan's offer, the complexities of their new family dynamic came into sharp focus. Olivia found herself torn between her desire for independence and the allure of accepting her father's support. Emma grappled with feelings of inadequacy, wondering if she had done enough for her daughter over the years. The evening ended on a note of cautious optimism, with all three agreeing to think carefully about Nathan's proposal and discuss it further in the coming days. As Emma and Olivia prepared to leave, Nathan pulled Emma aside for a moment. Emma, he said softly, his eyes searching her face, I know this isn't easy for any of us, but I want you to know that I appreciate everything you've done for Olivia. You raised an incredible daughter. Emma felt tears prick at her eyes. Thank you, Nathan. That means more than you know. As they parted ways that night, each of them felt the stirring of something new, a fragile hope for the future, a tentative bond forming between them. The road ahead would not be easy, but they were beginning to see the possibility of a new kind of family, one built on honesty, forgiveness, and the shared love for the remarkable young woman who connected them all. In the days that followed, life in Boston continued its relentless pace, but for Emma, Nathan, and Olivia, everything had changed. They were no longer separate entities orbiting around each other, but a constellation slowly taking shape, each point essential to the whole. Olivia threw herself into her work at Sullivan Tech with renewed passion, her mind ablaze with ideas that impressed even the most seasoned veterans in the company. Nathan watched her with a mixture of pride and regret, marveling at her talent, while mourning the years he had missed. Emma, for her part, found herself re-evaluating her life and choices. The secret she had carried for so long was out, and in its wake, she felt both liberated and adrift. She began to consider changes in her own life. Perhaps it was time to pursue the advanced nursing degree she had always dreamed of, but never dared to attempt. As autumn deepened in Boston, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson. The three of them continued to navigate their new reality. There were missteps and misunderstandings, moments of frustration and pain, but there were also moments of connection, of laughter, of a growing understanding that family could be redefined, rebuilt and strengthened even in the face of past mistakes. The truth once hidden had come to light, and in its glow, 3 lives were being transformed, a new story beginning to unfold against the backdrop of a city steeped in history and alive with possibility. As winter descended upon Boston, blanketing the city in a pristine layer of snow, the delicate balance that Emma, Nathan, and Olivia had been cultivating was about to face its greatest test yet. The holiday season loomed ahead, bringing with it a minefield of emotions and expectations. One crisp December morning, Olivia sat in her small apartment, staring at her phone. 2 text messages glowed on the screen, each representing a different aspect of her newly complicated life. The first was from Emma. "Honey, are you coming home for Christmas this year? I've missed our traditions." The second, from Nathan. "I'd love to have you over for the holidays. We could start some new traditions of our own." Olivia felt torn, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. She loved her mother and cherished their holiday memories, but a part of her yearned to explore this new connection with her father. As she pondered her dilemma, a notification popped up on her laptop, an email from Sullivan Tech announcing the annual holiday party. An idea began to form in Olivia's mind. Perhaps there was a way to bring everyone together, to bridge the gap between her old life and her new reality. With trembling fingers, she began to type out messages to both Emma and Nathan. Meanwhile, at Boston General Hospital, Emma was knee-deep in holiday preparations for the pediatric ward. As she hung colorful decorations, her mind wandered to Christmases past. Olivia's excited face on Christmas morning, the smell of freshly baked cookies filling their small apartment. She wondered if those days were gone forever, replaced by the complexities of their new family dynamic. Sarah, noticing Emma's distraction, approached her friend with a steaming cup of coffee. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked gently. Emma sighed, accepting the coffee gratefully. I don't know what to expect this Christmas. Everything's different now." Sarah squeezed Emma's shoulder reassuringly. "Different doesn't have to mean worse, you know. Maybe it's an opportunity for something new and beautiful." Across town, in the gleaming offices of Sullivan Tech, Nathan sat at his desk, staring out at the snow-covered city. The trust fund paperwork for Olivia lay before him, still unsigned. He had hoped it would be a way to make amends, to provide for her in the way he should have all along. But Olivia's reaction had been lukewarm at best, leaving Nathan unsure of how to proceed. A knock at his door interrupted his reverie. It was Marcus, his old mentor, a concerned look on his face. "Nathan, my boy," Marcus said, settling into a chair across from him. "You've been distracted lately. Is everything all right?" Nathan hesitated for a moment before confiding in his old friend. He told Marcus about the complexities of building a relationship with Olivia, about his uncertainty regarding the trust fund, and about his hopes and fears for the future. Marcus listened intently, his weathered face thoughtful. When Nathan finished, Marcus leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. "Nathan, you can't buy love or forgiveness with money. What Olivia needs, what both of you need, is time, patience, and the willingness to be vulnerable." As Nathan pondered Marcus's words, his phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. His heart leapt as he read her proposal, a joint holiday celebration, bringing together all the important people in her life. It was a gesture of reconciliation, of hope for the future. The next few weeks passed in a flurry of preparation and anticipation. Olivia threw herself into planning the perfect gathering, determined to create a space where her 2 worlds could coexist harmoniously. Emma and Nathan, for their part, approached the impending celebration with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Finally, the day of the party arrived. Snow fell gently outside as guests began to arrive at the cozy restaurant Olivia had rented for the occasion. Sarah was there, offering Emma moral support. Marcus arrived with Nathan, his presence a steadying influence. Olivia's friends from university and colleagues from Sullivan Tech mingled, creating a vibrant atmosphere. As Emma and Nathan entered, their eyes met across the room. For a moment, they were transported back in time, 2 young people full of dreams and possibilities. But the years between them were etched in the lines around their eyes, in the grey at Nathan's temples, in the wisdom that comes from living and learning. Olivia watched her parents exchange with a mixture of hope and anxiety. She had orchestrated this gathering with the best of intentions, but now that everyone was here, she felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her. The evening progressed, filled with laughter, good food, and the gradual melting of tensions. Emma found herself sharing stories of Olivia's childhood with Nathan, her initial reluctance giving way to the joy of reminiscence. Nathan, in turn, spoke of his own upbringing, giving both Emma and Olivia insight into the man he had become. As the night wore on, Olivia stood to make a toast. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the young woman who had brought them together. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight," Olivia began, her voice trembling slightly. "This past year has been, well, life-changing doesn't even begin to cover it. I've discovered truths about myself and my family that I never imagined. And while it hasn't always been easy, I'm grateful for every moment, every revelation." She turned to Emma, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Mom, you've been my rock, my guiding star for my entire life. Your strength, your love, your sacrifice, they've made me who I am. I hope you know how much I love and appreciate you." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion, tears streaming down her face as she smiled at her daughter. Olivia then turned to Nathan. "And Dad," she said, the word still new and precious on her tongue, "I'm so glad I found you. Thank you for being open to this new relationship, for showing me a part of myself I never knew existed. I'm excited to see where this journey takes us." Nathan nodded, too overcome with emotion to speak. "To all of you," Olivia continued, raising her glass, "thank you for being part of this new chapter in our lives. Here's to family, the ones we're born with, the ones we choose, and the ones we discover along the way." As the room echoed with the sound of clinking glasses, Emma and Nathan found themselves standing side by side, watching their daughter with shared pride. "We did good, didn't we?" Nathan murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Emma nodded, a soft smile on her face. "We did. She's amazing." As the party wound down, Olivia found a quiet moment with both her parents. "I have something for both of you," she said, reaching into her bag. She pulled out 2 envelopes, handing one to each of them. Emma and Nathan opened their envelopes to find identical cards inside. The message read, "To new beginnings and second chances. I love you both, Olivia." Enclosed with each card was a key. "I've been thinking a lot about what family means," Olivia explained, her voice soft but sure. "And I realized that it's not about where we've been but where we're going. These are keys to my new apartment. It's bigger than my old place, with a spare room for visitors. I want both of you to feel welcome there anytime." Emma and Nathan exchanged a glance, both deeply moved by the gesture. It was more than just a key. It was an invitation to be part of Olivia's life, a symbol of forgiveness and hope for the future. As they left the restaurant that night, the snow had stopped falling, leaving the city blanketed in a soft, white glow. Emma, Nathan, and Olivia stood together on the sidewalk, their breath visible in the cold air. "Merry Christmas," Olivia said softly, looking at both her parents with love. "Merry Christmas," Emma and Nathan replied in unison, sharing a smile at their synchronicity. As they parted ways, each heading to their respective homes, there was a sense of a new beginning. The path forward wouldn't always be easy. There would be challenges to face, old wounds to heal, and new understandings to forge. But they would face it together, as a family redefined by love, honesty, and the courage to embrace second chances. The Boston night enveloped them, the city lights twinkling like stars against the dark sky. And in that moment, as 3 separate paths converged into one, the future seemed full of possibility. The truth, once hidden, had blossomed into something beautiful, a family reborn, stronger for having been tested, and ready to write the next chapter of their story together. As Emma walked home, the key to Olivia's new apartment warm in her pocket, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Nathan, driving through the quiet streets, found himself looking forward to the future with hope and excitement. And Olivia, watching the city she loved from her window, felt the pieces of her life finally falling into place. The winter wind whispered through the streets of Boston, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings. For Emma, Nathan, and Olivia, it was the start of a new journey, one they would take together, one step at a time, into a future bright with love, understanding, and the unbreakable bonds of family.